Smile please, folks. Bradley Mertzman was irritated. He worked for the family business, and once again his boss, his own father, had sent him on a call that was not only unimportant, it took 3 days out of his life. That meant another 3 days away from the loving arms of his wife of 3 years, Sally. On this occasion, however, Bradley had gotten lucky. Due to a clash of dates at the client, an old friend of his father's, he was able to get back home a day early, 11 a.m. that day, rather than 3 p.m. the next. Bradley had sent Sally a text message about his good luck, and he had fortuitously been able to rebook his flight at no extra cost to the company. It wasn't that his father, Tony, was a Scrooge McDuck character. It was just that he liked keeping a sensible grip on expenses. Bradley had some paperwork signed, so he decided to drop that off at his parents' home, which was shared by his mom, dad, and little sister, 19-year-old Kimberly. His parents were both church-going fitness buffs, and Kimberly was engaged to be married to Roger Argent. Kim and Roger were both dedicated members of the Virginity Pledge group at church, part of a national alliance of pro-celibacy before marriage groups. Bradley had told Kim that he was very proud of her principled stand in favor of the pledge. She had cried when he had done this. He hadn't understood why, but soon he would. He arrived at their city's airport, obtained his company car from the long-term parking lot, and drove the 15-minute journey to his parents' house. As he approached the massive gates onto his parents' property, he used his remote control to open them. He grinned as he saw the notice over the gateway. Attention, everyone. These grounds and premises are under audio-visual surveillance 24/7. He drove along the driveway and parked his car in his designated parking space to the left of the mansion. He took his briefcase from the car, locking the car. As he entered the house, he realized he needed to pee, but when he entered the bathroom, he noticed that there was a bottle of Kaboom toilet bowl cleaner on the closed lid. He grinned to himself, acknowledging that his mother still did that, placing the cleaner on the toilet lid, so people would know she was cleaning the toilet and to not use it. He would have to use the toilet in the master bedroom, upstairs. He called out, but there was no reply. Maybe they're in the backyard, he thought to himself. As he walked through the door of the master bedroom, the stench of sweat and sex smashed his olfactory senses. His optical senses were equally smashed by the sight of his father and mother, plus his wife, Kim, sandwiched between them, all laying naked in bed together, asleep. It was obvious that they had indulged in multiple sex sessions that morning. But that was not the most disturbing thing he observed. Facing them across the large master bedroom was a hardback chair. Tied to the chair was a naked young female. Her nipples were obscenely stretched by weighted nipple clamps that pulled her bruised breasts downward. In her vagina, there was a large sex toy taped in place. But the thing that horrified Bradley was that she was wearing a gimp mask. Through the back of the hood, he saw a ponytail of blonde hair. He realized that the young girl wearing the gimp mask was his own sister, Kim. Her eyes locked on his, and he noticed a look of horror in her eyes. She attempted to speak to him, but because the mouth zipper on the mask was closed, she was unable to speak. Traumatized by what he had witnessed, Bradley somehow managed to leave the room as his parents and wife slumbered on, blissfully unaware of the tempesta di merda that was occurring around them, as his sister impotently rattled against her bindings and mumbled against the zipper and the leather gimp mask. An hour or so later, Kim found him in the same hiding place that they'd both used as children in the sub-basement of their large home. She switched on the old filament bulb that cast an eerie, dim yellow glow in the room. Her heart broke when she saw her brother slumped in the corner of the room, surrounded by a couple of 100 years of junk left by the generations of families who had occupied the house down through the 2 centuries since the house had been constructed. His normally ready smile had gone, and his usually sparkling eyes were dull. Lifeless almost. "Brad, I'm so sorry you saw that. That must have been horrible for you to witness." He shrugged. "My own family and my wife cheating on me? Making a mockery of our church wedding vows? I don't know what I did to deserve this, but it must have been something really, really bad." Kim gave a gasp. "Oh, no, Brad. You haven't done anything wrong. Nothing at all. It's just that Dad and Mom have certain needs, and Sally and me, well, we can help them fulfill those needs, you see?" "What about my needs? Did anyone think of my fucking needs?" The fact that Brad had sworn shocked Kim. He almost never swore. So this was a sign that he was in utter torment from the shocking sights he had witnessed. Brad, I know you must have been shocked by what you saw. I was at first, but I guess that over time I just got used to it. Sort of got into it, really. Sorry, but I did. Brad stood up. I'm going to be leaving. Please don't let anyone follow me. I'll return at 11 a.m. tomorrow, and we will discuss this clusterfuck of a situation together. She reached for him to give him a sisterly hug, but she was mortified and horrified that he cringed away from her, as if she were toxic in some way. He left without saying anything else. The next morning, the family were waiting for Brad in the living room of the house. Brad noticed that his mother looked harassed. His wife looked in torment. Welcome to my world, you bitches, he thought. His sister looked haunted, but his father? Had his father always been so arrogant and smug? He supposed he must have been. Well, Brad, you called this meeting. The floor's yours, said his father. Before Brad could speak, his mother intervened. Brad, honey, I'm so sorry that you saw us all like that in the bedroom. It must have come as a terrible shock to you. Brad had spent a good deal of time thinking about how he was going to address the matter. He had made several phone calls and was ready for the denouement. He spoke in formal tones, as if he were addressing a meeting and not his own parents, his wife and his sister. Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. Mertzman, Miss Mertzman and Miss Johnson. His father scoffed at his approach. Oh, so it's not Mom and Dad. It's Mr. and Mrs. Mertzman, is it? And addressing your wife by her maiden name? Well, you are Mr. and Mrs. Mertzman, aren't you? And that is Miss Mertzman. And there is Miss Johnson, who I mistakenly believed was my faithful wife. Under the circumstances of you all being involved in cheating on me together, how on earth would you expect me to be able to consider you to be my parents, my wife, or my sister? That makes no sense to me. None at all. The females all began sniffling or openly crying, but his father snorted. So how long have you two been fucking my wife? Don't speak so crudely, snapped his father. Show some respect, please. There are women present, you know. Brad guffawed. Oh, Mr. Mertzman, that is a particularly unexpected and, I must say, utterly misplaced example of old-time chivalry from you. Yesterday, I caught you and my mother fucking my wife in your bed, and tied to a chair, my sister, your own daughter, forced to wear a fucking gimp mask with a sex toy rammed in her vagina and secured in her with ropes, with weights hanging from her bruised breasts. So please try not to sound like a pompous, arrogant twat, okay? Brad turned to his mother. Mrs. Mertzman, can you please tell me how long this debauchery has been going on? About 3 months, Brad. No longer than that. Why did you decide to turn me into your cuckold? His mother gasped. Oh, Brad, honey, no. We never thought of you as our cuckold. We just decided that we liked Sally enough to see if she would like to come play with us. If I'm not your cuckold, could you care to explain why my sex life with her? He jerked a thumb towards Sally. Ceased almost completely? Who came up with the idea of getting her to cut me off from having sex with my own wife? Oh, Brad, that actually sounds worse than it was. We took the decision, all three of us, to stop Sally from having sexual relations with you because, while your father is a well-endowed man and very, very vigorous in his love-making techniques, and we thought that if Sally came to your marital bed showing obvious signs of having been with another man, then you'd be suspicious and upset, and we didn't want you to be suspicious or upset. So that's why we did it. It was for your benefit, really, to keep you happy. Brad shook his head. That's such a pile of horseshit. You decided to stop me from having sex with my wife, so I wouldn't realize she had had her vagina loosened up by the cock of another man. Namely, my own poor excuse for a father to keep me dumb and happy in my fucking ignorance. Hadn't it occurred to you that the way to keep me happy would be to not have my wife fucked by another man and another woman? Don't talk to your mother like that, Brad, intervened his father. I thought we had already established that you and her no longer have the right to be considered as my mother and father. Yeah, you fertilized the egg. She gave birth to me. So, as the saying goes, I thank you for your service, but really? You steal my wife from me, and you still think I should consider you as my parents? That's remarkable. He looked at Sally. And you? Why did you decide to cheat on me? She shook her head. I don't know, Brad. It first started when you were away one time in Denver, I think it was. We were all here, we shared some drugs, we got mellow. Then we started fooling around, kissing, and we all ended up in bed. Later, Kim found out, and we introduced her to the fun sessions, but she only ever watched. So you are saying these two seduced you? In a way, I guess they did, but please don't get the idea they forced me or anything. I was, and I'm sorry to have to say this, a willing participant. Did you know that they were sending me on business trips that didn't really exist in order to allow them to have unfettered access to your twat? Sally had the decency, if one could call it that, to blush. Yes, I did. I'm sorry about that, but it just seemed like the sensible, logical thing to do under the circumstances. Somehow, when you were away on the other side of the country, it seemed a little less disrespectful of you. This time it was Brad's turn to give a derisive snort of contempt. Yeah, sure. He turned to Kim. And you, Kim? What does your fiancé, Roger Argent, think of you being involved in this debauchery? She shook her head. Roger doesn't know. He can't know. It would destroy him if he knew what was happening. Brad's face expressed the shock her remark had engendered in him. What? So you have the poor schmuck on a string? He probably has never even seen your naked body. Has he? Never seen your breasts, so he will not know that my perverted sorry excuses for my parents and so-called wife have bruised and damaged them by hanging fucking weights off of them. But you're going to marry him soon, right? If you're both members of the virginity pledge group at church, how the fuck are you going to explain away the fact that your virginity is gone and that your cunt is as wide as the fucking Holland Tunnel? At this point, Kim began to sob. But I'm still a virgin. Mrs. Mertzman interjected, Brad, she's never had sex with a man, so she is still a virgin. Interesting interpretation you have of virginity. There, you are forgetting I saw her, my own little sister, with a giant sex toy jammed in her snatch. And I note the way you said that, just then. Never had sex with a man. So, I'll parse what you said and ask if you, my sister, my wife, have ever fucked. The stricken look on the faces of the women in the room and the glowering expression from Mr. Mertzman told Brad all he needed to know. That just about says it all. You are a sick bunch of fucking degenerates. How come I never knew that all the stuff you taught me throughout my life about religion, being faithful, not doing drugs, and all the other shit was a load of crap? Just so much nonsense. Why didn't you include me in your fun and games if there was nothing wrong with what you were doing? Mrs. Mertzman dabbed at her eyes with a handkerchief. It's not that, Brad. We believe what we taught you. It's just that we have certain needs, sexual needs, and we decided to indulge in them with Sally, and then when Kim became aware, with her too. We thought you'd be too straight to want to play. I'm going to divorce Sally on the grounds of adultery and also divorce my parents and my sister. At this point, Mr. Mertzman rode with laughter. On what grounds, you idiot? You have no proof. So what if I fucked your wife, and your wife had lesbian sex with your mother and your sister? You need to man up, accept what happened, and just move on. And before you ask, yeah, I'll continue fucking her. Maybe I'll send you to open a branch in Australia. But don't worry, Sally will be in very good hands. He leered at Sally, but he failed to notice or appreciate the looks of horror and disgust on the faces of everyone in the room, save for Brad, whose face was suffused by a somewhat feral smile. Sure, Dad, whatever you say, Dad, but you just cooked your own goose. You see, everything you idiots have said was just live-streamed to Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, Bambusser, Ustream, Dacist, Livestream, and Brightcove. It's also been saved to several cloud accounts. So you're fucked, basically. You damn fool. You just outed yourself to the world as a stupid cuckold, and cuckolded by your own parents and sister. Mrs. Mertzman rounded on her husband and slapped him. You utter bastard. You selfish, utter bastard. You only did this to make your own son into a cuckold. There was general screaming and yelling. Oh no. Now Roger will know what I have done. Brad, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Brad walked out of the room and went out to his car that he had filled with whatever of his possessions he wanted. Sally and Kim followed him out at a distance. Kim, I wish I could turn the clock back, said Sally. He seems to be taking this very stoically, very well, replied Kim. As he sat in the driver's seat, they saw that he suddenly broke down and began sobbing. Sally shook her head. That was all just an act, really. Just an act for us. We have broken him, we destroyed him. I wrecked my husband, you wrecked your brother. We are nothing but pieces of shit, honey. I know. I'm glad he outed us to the world. We deserve it, but Brad didn't, Neither did my fiancé, Roger. What you going to do about him? I don't know. They watched Brad as he used the heels of his hand to wipe his eyes, and then he squared his shoulders and drove away. Brad parked the car at the company car park and transferred his belongings to a new SUV that he had bought with one of his phone calls the previous day. He drove off to stay with a friend who lived in a massive apartment in Russian Hill, San Francisco. His friend was Mike. They'd been at high school together before Mike had obtained a degree and gone to San Francisco to work for Google before starting his own business. Mike had listened to Brad's story the day before with sympathy and horror. It was he who suggested live streaming the confrontation, and he had offered Brad both accommodation. His previous roommate had just moved back to the UK and a job within his company. Despite Mertzman issuing a variety of threats, the confrontation video went viral, circling the world many times over. Brad's lawyers were able to point out that Tony Mertzman had installed his own video surveillance systems, so was, in point of fact, aware that he was liable to be recorded. His father's lawyers argued the point and lost. Tony Mertzman's own board of directors turned against him. The CFO had said to a heated emergency board meeting, "If he'll do that to his own son and daughter, fuck knows what he might do to us." So the board voted him out of his own company. Roger broke off his engagement to Kim and People, emboldened by the knowledge that Mertzmans were something of a busted flush, began coming forward with stories of sexual impropriety between the Mertzmans and various women in the town, dating back to their high school days. A small law firm in their city, out to make a name for itself, began a class action against the couple, who settled out of court and ended up bankrupt. As one anchor said in a pithy comment on the TV news, Mr. and Mrs. Mertzman are now financially bankrupt, as well as morally bankrupt. And Roger? After a couple years, he married the girl who should have been the bridesmaid to Kim. Sally didn't defend herself against the divorce action, and Bradley was really able to help Mike's business grow until it was almost, but not quite, a rival to Google. Brad was able to instigate programs and ideas that his father had always thwarted within the family business. Why? Why had he hampered his work within the family business? Had he done it deliberately? It was this realization, during a session with his counselor, which made Brad understand that it wasn't merely sex as far as his father was concerned. It had been a psychopathic jealousy that had caused the destruction of everything that his father had held dear. His family, his business, and even his own marriage had been lost, because after 30 years, Mrs. Mertzman realized that she had actually been an abused wife all along. Or so her therapist told her.